Mine one's is Jerome Braggs of JeromeBraggs.com, and today I want to talk to you about the main reason we get sick and manifest disease or chronic illness. And that reason is we are not being ourselves. Now, what we usually think about when we think about being ourselves is like we're not saying what we want to say, or we're not expressing our sexuality in some way, or our personality in some way. But there's a little bit more to that. And I'll get to that in a second. But the reason why we get sick when we're not being ourselves is because the body was created by our soul. Our soul manifested this particular body that we exist in to house the energy of itself. So to house the truth of it, to house the wholeness of it. That is what the body is meant for, is to house the energy of the soul so that the soul can have a physical experience as a human. The energy of your soul is the literal fuel of your body. It's the literal fuel that helps the body be healthy, to sustain its good health, to run off its good health. That is literally the body's main source of nourishment and nutrients. More than the food that you're eating, more than the sleep and the water. The main nutrient that gives your body wellness and allows it to sustain life and healthy life is for it to be embodied with the energy and essence of your soul. So when we are not being ourselves in some way, whether we're suppressing some aspect of ourselves, or we're betraying or abandoning an aspect of ourselves, or we're hiding a part of ourselves, or rejecting and denying a piece of ourselves, what that does, and especially if we do this chronically, right? Not just in an acute space where we may just do this for a day or two, but if we do this, this becomes a way of living where we are not really being ourselves in some type of way. We're starving our bodies, literally, of the nutrient that they need to be healthy and to run well. And again, it's not about drinking more green juice or being alkaline vegan or anything like that. And although those things can help us and assist and be a support system in our health and wellness of our body, they are not the main source of wellness in the body. The main source of wellness in the body is the presence of our soul. And there are many type of ways in which we kind of disconnect from our presence, right? Like, I know for me in my journey and what I realized why I manifested disease is, one, I had felt a lot of shame in my life, and I had begun to feel like there were parts of me that weren't lovable and weren't enough. So I would hide those parts. I hid parts of my sexuality. I hid part of my femininity and only projected my masculinity. I hid my spiritual gifts because I grew up in a very religious environment, and so I hid my psychic and intuitive abilities. But it wasn't just that. Like, again, this is a little bit more easy to understand, these aspects of where we disconnect from ourselves. But one of the places we disconnect from ourselves is when we don't live how we want to live, right? When we are not doing what we really want to do. Whether that's, we really wanted to move to this city, and it was calling us, but we didn't move there because we were afraid we weren't going to make it there financially, so we chose to live somewhere else. That's a small way. It's the small ways we starve ourselves from being what we really want to be and doing what we really want to do, that over time get built up to disconnecting our bodies from our soul. And again, living a life you want to live. And this is one of the things I see a lot with clients who come to me with diseases and chronic illnesses that are on the healing journey, is you're not living the life that you really wanted to live. You're not, whether that's that you wanted to write and you're not writing. You got caught up in your job and you're not writing, or you wanted to try stand-up comedy, but you've been afraid of people, what people were going to think if you did that, or there's a way you want to behave in your life, right? But you're afraid that if you behave this certain type of way, you wouldn't be seen as being appropriate, or you wouldn't be seen as professional. I know this was for me as well. Like, I'm really silly, and I'm really, again, same gender loving. I use gay vernacular sometimes, and I used to get so caught up in this box of thinking I could only present the professional side of myself and these things. If I presented this in space, people wouldn't want to work with me. They wouldn't hire me. I wouldn't make any money. And this is another way in which I was divorcing from myself, right? And there's many different ways in which we divorce from the truth of ourselves, from the wholeness of ourselves. And that divorce is not benign. It is always going to manifest suffering for us, because the source of well-being is the truth of our being. That is the only source. The source of well-being and the source of wellness is our soul, is the wholeness of us. And if we are disconnected from our wholeness in any type of way, especially when we are disconnected and chronically, when it's been going on for a while, it manifests suffering, because we don't have in our body the energy that can manifest well-being. We only have disconnection from that. And that disconnection is what manifests suffering. And so the main reason why we manifest disease and chronic illness isn't because we were just not thinking negatively, or isn't because we were eating the wrong things, or isn't because of even our hereditary, right, that it was passed down to us from our family. The main reason is somehow, somewhere, and for some longer period of time, we have not been being ourselves. We have been, shoulding all of ourselves. I should do this instead of what I really want to do. We have been suppressing a part of ourselves, saying if this part came to the light, then I wouldn't be loved, or I wouldn't belong, and that's what I really want. So I'm going to push this down so that I can receive this love and belonging. We've been hiding pieces of ourselves. We've been, suppressing repression, like we're not meeting things that we have, callings and yearnings. This is another thing. Your yearnings, your unfulfilled yearnings, are not benign either. If you have something that you're being called to, you have something that your heart really wants to experience, that means that's a part of you. And to fulfill that is to fulfill a part of you. You're becoming more of yourself. And when you do not do that, when you do not go after your dreams, when you do not go after the things that are pulling you and calling you, what ends up happening is you become less of yourself instead of more. Instead of expanding yourself, you suppress, you diminish. And this diminishment is what starves the body of the energy that it needs to be well. And this is what happens. And this is also, though, the key to healing. Right? The key to healing is to recognize where you've been starving yourself of being yourself, and to start being yourself, to have the courage to take the risk to do what you really want to do, to have the courage to say what you really want to say, to have the courage to behave how you really want to behave, to have the courage to live how you really want to live, and be who you really want to be, and follow your heart and listen to what your yearnings are, and dare to try and fulfill those. That breathes the energy of the soul back into the body. Literally, it like grounds it back into the body. And the more and more you do that, the more and more you take steps closer and closer and more into becoming your true self, and to becoming who you really are, and what you really want, and how you really want to live, and how you really want to behave. The more you do that, the more the body begins to heal, because it is getting the fuel and the nourishment that it was created to receive. So that's the main reason why we get sick. And that's the key a little bit to, if you are experiencing an illness or disease, that is the big key to your healing journey. Yes, take the medicines. Yes, try the alternative therapies. Yes, do the diets and whatever you're being called to do. But more importantly, you want to do the transformative and healing work of finally becoming your true self in your life, and living a life that is true to you. That is going to be your greatest medicine. And that is going to be the biggest part of loving yourself, that the disease is here to invite you to. So I hope this has helped you. If it has, please share this, like and share this video with someone who you think will be greatly helped by this. And leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about it and if this has resonated for you in any type of way. Until next time, I love you. Now go love yourself.